Alright, this morning I'm going to go through my pizza dough making process. This will make 6 dough balls for about a 12 or 13 inch Neapolitan pizza. I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is. I do this every Friday, make 6 pizzas. And if you have a stand mixer, it's really not too bad. So, flour, I get this from Costco. It's 11.7% protein, so I don't use it's all purpose, but it's about the protein level of most bread flours. A scale. This is pretty essential. So when you bake, you want to have exact measurements if you want it to be repeatable. So to start out, I'm gonna go put the mixer bowl on there. Make sure I'm in grams. We're doing 666 grams of water. You can't see that, it's 546. This is just regular tap water, it's not a certain temperature, it's really not that important. Alright, there we go. I'm going to reset it. I'm going to add 3 grams of yeast. Sprinkle that in. Next, about 3 grams of honey. That's it. Now, hook this up with the dough hook. Just put that on low level, just stir the yeast in. Hopefully that's not too loud. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go a different container on. We're going to get 1,000 grams of flour. There we go. And then this is just Morton kosher salt. We get 26 grams of salt. And then 33 grams of olive oil. It's about quarter cup? No, less than a quarter cup. Anyway, we're done with the scale. This is mixed in. I'm going to pour all the flour in. If I ever have to make more than 6, I do it in batches. Because 6, at this point, we have about as much as I want to fit in there. And so, put that in. I go ahead and put the salt in. I don't put the oil in quite yet. I turn this on as that starts to go. Actually, I'll go ahead and... That was the wrong way. I lost a few grams of flour. I pour this in, but not around the edge of the bowl. I don't want the sides of the bowl to get oily, or else the dough hook doesn't knead quite as well. The dough slips around. You want it to stick a little bit. All right, so back on low level. And it comes together pretty quickly. When I used to make pizza dough and not really know what I was doing, not do anything by weight, at this point you're like, oh, the dough's super dry, I need to add water, and then it ends up being too sticky to work with, or it's too wet and you add flour. It's just very unpredictable. So this way, the hydration level. It's 66% hydration, and that's what we want for this pizza. So this is why I don't want the sides of the bowl to be oily. You see how kind of, I don't know, it makes these little arms that kind of stick, and it helps the kneading process. So I let this go for, I don't know, really you just have to let it go until the dough comes together and starts looking a little smooth. I also want to see the sides of the bowl, as it continues to knead, it will clean those sides. Turn it up to 2. If you don't have a stand mixer, this would definitely be a longer process, doing it by hand, as well as a stickier process. The stand mixer really allows me to just throw this together in about 8 minutes. You see the sides of the bowl are getting cleaner. Now I could let this go for, I don't know, 5 more minutes. Check it out. It's pretty smooth, came together really well, the bowl's all clean. So at this point, I'm just gonna stop. And here's what we're gonna do. You wanna make sure your counter's clean. This is the other pretty essential tool. It's a bench scraper. This one from OXO is my absolute favorite. I've used other ones that don't have this handle, and honestly, your hand really starts to hurt after a while. So I use a spatula just to kind of get the dough off the hook. Notice that didn't take long for it to really want to stick to itself. So I just lay it out right on the counter. Out of the way. Now, if you were working this by hand, it's still like, if you go slowly, it's going to stick to your skin. If you need to get that back off, you can just go quickly. Here's where the dough scraper really comes in. This keeps your hands clean, and it just does an amazing job. So we're going to turn this into a very pillowy, nice looking dough ball, and then let it rest for an hour. So the way I do that is you have it down on the surface and you're just going in and back out. You want to do it quick. If you go slow, it's going to stick to the dough scraper. If that happens, that's fine. You're just coming in like that, and you're coming around from all sides. You'll see other guys on YouTube, they'll do this by hand. They'll pick it up and kind of stretch it and kind of put it over on itself. That's really hard to do without getting it on your hands. They might oil up their fingers a little bit, this to me is just the easiest way to do it. You can work this around. It doesn't stick to the counter. If it does, if it gets kind of spread out on here, you just scrape it under and it'll stick to the dough. The speed that you do it, of pulling it out, in and out, is kind of the key to not sticking. So what we're doing is, as you shove it under, because there's gluten that's already formed, it's creating surface tension. It's pulling the top layer and stretching around, and that's what really enables you to go from a big mass of dough that's kind of a little shaggy to the pillowy soft dough that you want to get to. So now that we're here, this is the first step. Again, if I weren't videoing, it's probably take like 8 to 10 minutes start to finish. At that point, sometimes I wash this out just to help make cleaning easy later. Do that real quick. Alright. So the bowl's washed so that the dough up the top doesn't get hard and then it's more of a pain to clean. At this point, I'm just going to go, it should fit in here. If it doesn't, if it's kind of relaxed, you can take this and make it, alright, now we're kind of more balled up and it definitely fits in with no problem. This is going to go down to protect it from the air, and we're going to let it go for 45 minutes, anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour. And the next step, we'll come back, we'll release it from here, and we'll make it into dough balls. And that's it for now. Be back in a bit.